Hey guys, and welcome to the Service Lines Podcast. I am your host with the most equipment, Zach Ryder. And today we are talking company culture. It's a freaking buzzword that gets beat to death, but I'll tell you what, the core and the principle behind the culture that you grow in your company or you help foster as an employee is so important, right? Like, the way that we interact with each other within the company, and it trickles from the top down. It trickles from the CEO all the way down. And as our good friend Doug Shear often says, getting people to drink the Kool-Aid, that's a real trick. So I'm so excited to talk to our guest today. And I am really looking forward to this podcast. So without further ado, so today we are talking with Tim Wortman, and he is in charge of marketing now and social media and all the things like that at Circuit Board Medics. Welcome, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm loving being on here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. We met at ASTI, United Servicers ASTI, and I thought you were such a cool guy. You had just such a neat perspective on it, and we started talking company culture then and there, and went, you know what, we really need to have that on as part of the podcast. So I'm looking forward to this. So tell us a little bit about who you guys are as Circuit Board Medics and like where that kind of came from, and then maybe a little bit of your experience, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, man, I can give you a bit of a brief history of both. So this company was started in 2000, I think end of 2010, beginning of 2011 by Ed Edwards, the current president. He was an engineer working just down the road in Greenville, and he had an issue with his, I think it was his washing machine. And instead of taking it in or calling someone in, he said, I can fix this stuff myself. This is kind of what I do at my job anyways. And so just to maybe save time, money, to learn a bit about the process, he learned how to fix the control board in his washing machine. That led to him starting his own eBay business that did really well, kept growing. One of his mechanic friends dropped by one day and said, "Hey, I got these fuel injection control modules in my Super Duty. Can you take a look at it?" Ed started fixing those, and then the company just incrementally grew from there. The building we're currently in, it's a beautiful property, and we've been in this building since 2018. So Circuit Board Medics exists to restore normalcy that a broken circuit board has robbed of a person. That is a core value and a theme behind everything that we do. And it's not just something that sounds nice that we say every now and then. It comes up at every single quarterly meeting that everyone in the company is a part of. Ed truly has a passion for helping people out. I mean, I've seen so many examples here of people staying late, of people in the customer support room, like you can see behind me, going out of their way to help people beyond the normal scope of what we would service, or doing more than we would even say we did initially, because there's a person attached to the circuit board. Someone's truck is down, therefore someone is going to be late to work. Someone can't run their business. Kids can't get dropped off at school. People who stay at home can't wash clothes. So that's the driving passion behind why we do what we do. But as far as what we service, we focus exclusively on appliance and vehicle circuit boards. We're not like some other companies that sell cores and worry about stock, but we work through FedEx to get circuit boards in the mail. We have a 1-day guarantee. Obviously, if something goes wrong, we can't always fulfill that. But for all orders that are standard, we promise and fulfill a 1-day guarantee. Even throughout all these supply chain issues and issues with delivery across the country, we're staying on top of that 1-day guarantee. Right now, we're kind of in a season of focusing more on heavy duty products. If you want to check out the website, the biggest one we just launched is the Freightliner Cascadia CPC4 module. You may have seen in the news that a lot of trucks are down because these are inoperable, and there's been a slew of thefts across the country because the production issues with these CPC4s are leading to low supply, high demand. That's a couple minutes of circuit board medics. Personally, I was a valet in Greenville from 2016 to 19. I started here October 1st, 2019. Zach, you already mentioned the culture of promoting from within. I started in the prep and assembly department, just sandblasting the metal exteriors of PCMs and cleaning parts before the technicians fixed them, and then sealing them back up to send them out the same day. Then I got moved to the exchange pod. So I was programming clusters and PCMs to VIN, mileage, whatever specifications the customer sent in over email. And this September, I was promoted to the marketing team. So I am one of now 4 people on the marketing team. I don't really do too much website development, but I do monitor Facebook and reviews. I write blogs. I've taken pictures. I write captions. I do all that stuff. And I have been doing that full time since the first week of April, I'd say. So that's who we are and who I am.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. And I just I love that. I think one of the things that you shared that I latch onto the most is that there's a person behind that board. And I think that's something that we as in the Service Alliance really try and hammer home, is that like every customer is a person, every machine, right, represents an actual real person, and so that's such a cool way. And you can see that really trickles down. The whole team that was at ASTI, man, you guys were just like, you were as amped up as we were. I mean, as the Service Alliance, like we were rolling through there and we were all pretty amped up, but you guys were probably just as amped up as we were. We were probably the 2 most energetic crews that were out there. Tell me about that. Like, tell me, I mean, because literally, like, that's not a joke. All you guys were just like so passionate and so excited. It was cool to see.
Yeah, part of that was because it was a whole new world for me. So I've never traveled for work before. I've never been to a conference like that. So just being around everyone there was an absolute treat. I shook so many hands. I got to know so many people. We had people from the Midwest, the Northeast, from the area in Florida where the conference was. I mean, it was difficult not to be amped up. And I think one of the reasons why we were so excited is, one, because we're proud of what we do and we confidently stand by what we do. And 2, like you talk about, you're using the phrase trickle down a lot. I think if Ed didn't care about it, if he was like, let's just go throw some stuff on a table, answer questions and get out of there early, I think that would have trickled down to us. But Ed is excited about this stuff. He loves talking to people. He loves learning too. I think that's one of the reasons why the group that was selected went, and one of the reasons why we had such a good time is because it's not like window shopping, like you're just walking by and listening to other people talk. Like you're giving, you're receiving information. I learned a lot when I was there. So it was difficult not to be excited.
Yeah, it was a really good time. I had such a good time connecting with people and getting to know other people and getting to learn about different products and services and stuff like that. And yeah, I think there were probably a lot that were just kind of like, I'm tired of this. I'm just like, why am I even here?
Oh yeah.
And that was one of the things that we kind of talked about, like within your company, the way that you do hire from within or promote from within is very much because so much is poured into each employee, each member of the team. How does that look? Like what everyone has a different approach. I'll put it that way. Everyone has a different approach to how they trickle down that culture. And so some do that by giving more responsibility. Some do that by just leading by example. Like, what does that look like at Circuit Board Medics? Like, how do they promote and grow that culture? We talked about that a little bit at ASTI, but you live and breathe it.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I was excited to do this podcast, because I didn't feel like I had to sit down and write a script and make an outline. Like, I'm actually not very prepared, but in a sense, I'm very prepared because my close to 3 years being here, the culture is so real here that I can talk about. You can stop me on the street on a Saturday and I can talk to you for an hour about it and not lie 1 second. So, so I don't have to really think hard about it. I just have to think about how to structure it, because I could go on a tangent about this.
I like tangents. However you want to start. You start it off, and we'll pick out different questions and go from there.
Well, I'll tell you this much: they mean it here, and it's real. That's very simple. But I think one of the biggest shocks I had when I come, juxtaposing this job with my valet job, was that when they talk about values, they actually care and they know. And every company claims they do, but the second week that I was here, we had the third. It was the final quarterly meeting of the year, going over the second quarter, and I was a prep and assembly technician. I'd been there for 1 week, and I was still invited to the meeting. Every single person in the company, instead of selecting who can go to the meetings and just making it a leadership thing, we've just rented bigger buildings so we can fit everyone into the company meeting. So we all know what's going on in every department. We're all caught up on sales. We all know what the big projects are heading forward. So everyone on board the ship knows where the ship's headed, who's in charge, who's steering us, who's navigating. So compare that to one of my valet meetings when I was at a company doing valet work, and I sat in a 3-hour meeting, and the manager just read pretty much the company's history from a Wikipedia article. Like, in 1985, corporation was founded by and I could not have felt more dead inside. It was so terrible. But coming here, it's lively, and because they do such a good job of selecting people in the interview process, everyone here actually cares themselves. So that's one way that the culture trickles down, is that they don't just hire people to fill seats, get the work out the door, and go home. They really want to make sure that not only does the person themselves care about the culture, but the people they sit next to are going to want to sit next to that new person. So they influence the culture by hiring and by example. I have seen people in leadership positions not get humiliated or insulted, but when I was in the repair room, it's the biggest room in the building, and I have the most eyes on the most people. So I could see 2 pods over, someone I'm trying to find the right words, not getting reprimanded, but being told, and not in private, but being told around everyone, hey man, why is this not getting out today? Well, I think you need to change your mind. We need to do things differently. And then the person in charge of the pod now has been told to do things differently because they weren't really living up to the caring about the customer standard. So leadership
people to a higher standard. It's accountability.
Yes.
At that point, I heard a lot of good in there in what you're saying. Like I think there was a lot more than just like one point, right? So like hiring is where it really starts, right? Like you hire very purposefully. You're not just putting bodies in seats. There's an open flow of communication. And so it sounds like, as far as leadership goes, it's not so much it's my way or the highway. It's, hey, this is what we got going on. Like, anyone have thoughts or questions or concerns, or like that communication is always flowing. So you kind of always understand, because like sometimes in that pod, right, you may have a better handle on what's going on with that particular control board or that particular process than the CEO does, right? And so like I think that's really cool that there is that kind of back and forth. And at the same token, like they understand why the numbers are what the numbers are, and they're sharing that with you. Like, if we don't do this, then we're going to miss this target, and they want you to be a part of that process. So there's like 3 whole separate things just right in that are key to culture. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a part of this company, not just, I mean, I'm sure if I worked in a retail store, of course, I'm so far removed from the president and the CEO that they're not going to invite the latest, person who got hired in the door to the meeting or the big investors meeting. In fact, they probably don't want people seeing those numbers, but here they're very upfront and very confident in the information that they're sharing with everyone.
Yeah, and I like that it's setting an example. Like, so if someone's falling short, it's not that they're like, a lot of times it's praise in public and correct in private, but in that case, it's not like you said, it's not a reprimand. It's, hey, what's going on? How can we? It sounds like the model is more like, how can we assist you? Like, how can we help facilitate this process? What's going on? Like, what do we need to do together to make this actually happen? Is kind of more how it sounds than an actual like correction. So I think
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that language, that mentality, right, is where a lot of culture comes in, and how you're viewing things, maybe whether it's as an employee or as the CEO. Like, you perspective matters. Your mentality really does matter.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because we can be looking at the same data, but if someone is just concerned about numbers, they might get tense, they might get controlling, they might get upset. Like, why are you making this mistake? You're costing us, fix it. I don't care how you do it, get it right. But here, because the customer is at the center of our concerns with the business that we're doing, anyone from Ed, the president, to people who have been here for the second longest amount of time, or just the pod leaders or the department leaders, no one is off the table. Now, granted, the more experience you have, it's less likely that'll happen. But I've seen it happen where the main concern here is the customer. So if someone feels like something's not doing right, in April 2020, I was training a new guy in prep and assembly, and he came up with a more efficient system of cleaning that I had not thought of or seen before. And within a week, we were using that method, and it was saving us a lot of time. So if I had acted pridefully and been like, come on, man, like, or tried to take credit, like, why didn't I think of that? Or, technically I trained him. No way, man. He found a better way to do it. Let's do it. It helps everyone out. So I've not seen that really in a lot of other places.
It sounds like Ed follows ego-free leadership. Like, yes. It sounds like he checks that ego, day in and day out, and then by proxy, the rest of you begin to, he models by example.
Yes, he does.
Ego. Yeah.
We, I think it was 2020, we were implementing lean processes. That's just a system of efficiency and cleanliness, and it covers a lot of bases, which I'm not going to go over right now. But in that meeting, I remember an example being given of someone at the top of lean management being brought into Toyota. And as he was walking down the aisle, there was a piece of trash, like obviously obstructing the floor in the way. And he just watched person after person walk by it. And he said, is anyone going to pick that up? And he was just like, it's just a piece of trash, man. It's not I don't have time for that. Like, he was talking to one of the executives, and the lean guy said, I don't have time for you then. I mean, if you're not willing to stoop down and do a little thing that over time contributes to a big change, then that's going to affect the whole company. So one piece of trash can have a big effect. And I've seen Ed, I've seen other people in vice positions, department lead positions, do little things. I've seen people wipe off countertops, clean sinks, clean toilets whenever the person in charge of that is on vacation. No one here is afraid to get their hands dirty.
How does teamwork affect you guys? Because it seems like the group that came and the travel, like, it seems like you guys may not always have worked together, but like you were very well like a very well oiled machine, almost like you just that teamwork, that cooperation.
Because culture is placed at such a high priority, that comes first. So it kind of ties into how we interview people. If we find someone who has all of the skills in the world, but they're not nice, they're not considerate, they would lie about something, we would rather have someone with no skills, but someone who is kind and curious and willing to learn, because we'll train someone any day. But we also believe that while everyone can stand improvement and everyone, I mean, I've grown so much in my time here, but there's also a certain amount of culture that you can't always train in a person, so we're looking for the people who are just inquisitive and kind and caring. So one of the reasons that we meshed so well together is because we had that natural culture that we just fit so well together. Both those guys, one of them I knew from out of work, but I had never worked in the same room as him a day in my life. The other one I worked pretty closely with, but that's one of the benefits of having a company our size, is that we're growing. We're almost about to outgrow this building, but I'm almost afraid if we grew too large, we might, not that we would lose the culture, that would never happen, but the distance would kind of make it, we wouldn't see each other every day. So being able to see each other and know each other on a daily basis is super helpful for that meshing.
How much do you guys have a lot of
I'm sorry, man. I just lost you. Do you mind repeating that?
Yeah, sure. So we just did a morning grind, and we were kind of talking about downtime and team time and stuff like that. Do you guys do stuff together as a team? Is there a time where you guys get out and go and do stuff together? And how important is that within the culture of the way you guys do things?
Oh man, yes. I'm so glad you asked that. Yeah, they absolutely do that here. It is phenomenal, honestly. I've never been in a place that takes relaxation and fun so seriously. They really stand by the statement, work hard and play hard. So we do put in some hours here, man. We put in some work, but every quarter we have a video game night. So it'll just be like good old college days. We'll bring the Xboxes in and we'll have 20-person LAN, wireless, but we'll have Halo parties. We play Super Smash Bros. Every Wednesday at lunch. We have tournaments. Last year, they began more consistent events. So in April, we have a carnival. We bring in food and games and prizes, and we do that out in the parking lot at the first sign of warm weather. We bring in food trucks. And then last October was the first time we had a kickball tournament. So we rent out a gym space and we have teams, and we have a trophy, and they cater food. Man, they go all out on making sure that we're taken care of, that we enjoy where we work, not just in the building, but outside of it as well. And I'm telling you, man, that you can love who you work with all day, but if you haven't seen them running to first base after kicking the ball out to the outfield, or been obliterated in a Smash tournament, that's just, you need that other side to really, I think, to truly work well together, and they do it fantastically here.
Well, and I think that that kind of speaks into that phrase that, and it's a real life practical application of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so as a team, you guys get to work together and get to realize who these people are on a human level, right? That human connection, you get to connect on an authentic level. And that just drives everything else. I love that. That's so cool. And I remember that from our breakfast conversation, because we sat down one morning at ASTI and we talked company culture and stuff like that for a good 25 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that.
Oh yeah.
So
I remember that conversation because it was the last morning, and I was kind of I was in let's get out of here mode, let's eat, shovel some food and leave. But that conversation was so good, and I really didn't mind. I could have talked even longer if we needed to. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. It's so neat just to see the way that companies can do this and just practicality, right? Like it's got to be refreshing to be a part of that type of culture.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it is. I love where I work. We have so many stories here of people who came from major manufacturing plants. Let's just keep it brief. And they were doing well there financially, but they were killing themselves. Some of the people here have talked about how they were in a dark place. If you want to check out the Facebook page, back in April or May, we had a post about Lewis. He didn't get to see his kids growing up. He was missing out on his family. And so he finally made the jump here. And he is, first of all, I mean, I love everyone here, but Lewis is so fun to work with. He brings a lot of life here, and he gets to see his family again. Like his daughter literally said, she was like, "Yay, Daddy's home!" Like when he changed jobs, because he got to see his little girls again. So his girl and his boy. So, yeah, it's tangible, man. The spouses of people who work here have noted differences in their husbands and wives. I've told my wife, like, whatever comes our way, I would rather figure out any other situation, but this is such a healthy place to work. Like, I can't imagine not working here. It's so good, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's that human aspect to all of this. Like so many, we hear it all the time. Like, oh yeah, we put families first and we put employees first, but I mean, when you see an actual company doing that, and I think that's like for us, our goal as the Service Alliance is always to change the service industry from the inside out, right? And you guys are doing that, right? Like you're modeling what that can look like, day in and day out, and I love that. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, it's a daily thing. There are a lot of days that go by, and just you can kind of get your head locked in, head down at the desk, grind stuff out. But then there will just be so many days where people are it's just fresh. People just breathe in, and I mean, I can just walk through a room and talk to anyone, and it's refreshing. So I definitely feel there's such a tangible connection to people here as well. That's one of the major reasons I love this so much.
That's awesome. So what's the biggest takeaway that you want our audience to hear, right? Because we're talking, I mean, this goes out to other service business owners, this goes out to technicians, this goes out to people like yourself that are in an office environment within the service industry. What's a big takeaway? What's something small that maybe you as an employee can do, or whatever? Give us some actionable items or something.
Well, I remember one of the business owners at ASTI in January talking about that. Now, this is more from an employer's standpoint, but he talked about how he walked in and it was a really stressful season in his business, and his stress was getting to everyone else. He was affecting people with his attitude, and he was humble about it, talked about how he learned from that, and that truly does trickle down to the employee. Now, I don't think I have so much power that I can pollute an entire company, but we have seen situations where whether a person that's still here or a person that's no longer here is just going through they're not promoting unity and forgiveness and an attitude of let's try this. And we stand by 9 core values, and we take all of them seriously: grit, ownership, credibility, restoration, adaptability, people, passion, ingenuity, and excellence. And for every single person in this building, we're looking for demonstrations of that on a consistent basis. And no one here is walking around with a clipboard making sure that you're all up to your value standards. There's no metrics for that, but there is a felt reality of living those things out. So as an employee, while I am not influencing the direction we're going, like I'm not making the decisions that Ed makes, I am influencing how my coworker's day is going. I am, at work, we don't just talk about work stuff from personal life. It all it all comes together. It bleeds out sometimes. And if I were just to sit here stoically, like, we got to get those orders out, gotta go through the reviews, and I weren't noticing the person next to me, I would be wasting my time. Under every value that we have an example of it being lived out. And I think it's under people is a verse from Galatians, love your neighbor as yourself. And so if I come in and all I care about is how I'm doing, how my day is, get in, get out, that's gonna affect everyone around me. And if my effect on them cements in their heart, then they start having an effect on them. It really can be a company-wide toxic effect. So loving others as yourself and caring about the person on the other end of the circuit board, two very simple ways that company culture is upheld and influences an entire company.
I love it. I love that HALT, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. How am I doing, and how am I affecting those that are around me? And it's taking yourself out of it and putting others first. I love that. That's so cool. That's so cool to hear, man.
It is. I love it as well, man. I'm so comfortable here.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, it's been fun to talk with you. Like, so if we're going to drop your links down below, again, so you have very specific core things that you work on, from vehicles to appliances. You don't do everything. You don't cover everything. I remember having a conversation about that. It is expanding, but it's not, it expands at the rate to which you guys can make sure that you live up to the guarantee and make sure that you can serve the person on the other side of that circuit board well. But that's all broken down on the website, correct? That's all there for them to find.
We have a very intuitive website. If someone goes to a customer's house and their fridge board is out, they can just type in the part number, model number on our website. And if we don't have it and it's a desperate need, no one else offers it, you can send it in under a quote. We also offer servicer discounts if a servicer wants to partner with us. So I would recommend that for appliance servicers.
Very cool. Very cool. And you're going to share your social links with us as well, because that's part of what you do, right? Like you're in the social marketing end of things.
Yes. Do you want me to just drop those? Where do you want me to drop those?
I'll get them from you. I'll get them, but I'll make sure that we have them down below, because I want people to go and be able to read the stories that you were talking about and like see the people side of the culture that we're talking about at this company, and hopefully be able to partner with a company that, has those values that we all try and emulate. So
yeah, it's the real deal, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. I appreciate your time today. It's been so fun chatting with you, and I'm so glad that we met by chance on the last morning at breakfast. And
I agree.
Had a good chance to talk. So thank you for your time, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. I could talk for another half hour. This was great, man. I like the setup you got. Appreciate you having me on.
For sure. And we'll have to have you back. Maybe we can get the CEO man to, come and join with us. I think it'd be fun. I think I'd love to pick his brain and have him, pour some wisdom from an owner perspective too. So we'll work on that. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt, Zach. Good luck to you, man. Hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, guys, that has been this episode of the Service Alliance podcast. That was awesome. So many nuggets. I hope again that you guys have been writing, like I've been saying since January, bring that notebook, write down some notes, take some nuggets. There's just a ton of good information that Tim dropped today. So until the next time, Service Alliance podcast, signing off.